Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, gentlemen. I wanted to at least take a video today and reflect on the events of September 11th. I'm not talking about all of the inside shit. I'm not talking about all of the conspiracy, and I'm not calling them theories, but it's conspiracy that surrounds it. I'm talking about the people that died in horrendous ways. Jericho Green just put up a deal. It says, "Where were you?" I thought that would be a good place to start. I was coming in from a third shift work schedule. I had just moved to Orlando from West Palm Beach, and I wasn't a real fan of my job. You know, it was just a job. It was just a thing, just something to do to collect some money, to kind of stay in the fight a little bit. You know, I'm not glad that things got worse down the road for me, but if they hadn't, it wouldn't have forced me to start to realize certain things about the way that the world is. So overall, I'm happy about it. But I remember coming in and sitting down on my bed in Orlando in this place called Sun Key. Neat little development, college town, you know. Excuse me. Right out there in Winter Park. I loved Orlando. I wish I could have stayed, but you know how it is. Things change. And I sat down on the bed, and one of the first things that I would do, man, I would come in and I would run full distance Formula One races on F1 2000. Right? Not the most fantastic game in the world, but it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. So I'd sit down, and that was a Saturday going into a Sunday morning, and I was waiting for the regular racing to come on. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run me a full-length race. So I got the race done. I got the controller put down. I turned the TV on, because back then I was a TV watcher, and I'd just keep the fucking thing on for sound at that point. But I remember all of the stations were going live with the first impact at the World Trade Center. And I didn't realize that it was an impact. I swear, I thought that it was an advo for a movie. I thought it was a special effects deal. And, you know, you start getting those reports, and it's like reports of a small commuter plane hitting the World Trade Center. And I was a fan of the World Trade Center, and I still am. I was a fan of the architecture. I was a fan of the building and the design process, and I could see what appeared to be the wingtip impacts. And I'm like, that's not a small commuter plane. There's no fucking way. There's no way. That's got to be like a mid-sized airliner, a jetliner. There's no way that that's like a Piper Cub, you know, or like a 10-passenger private jet. And you could see that the fire was just raging in that building. It didn't take long for it to get going. And once it set in that it was real, I'm like, shit, I didn't take my eyes off of it. And then a few minutes later, while this newswoman was talking, she was completely oblivious. You could see this airliner coming in. And I knew that was completely irregular. And I started to holler. I'm like, oh, fuck, we're under attack. I recognized it immediately. And I hollered, and I went to my roommate's bedroom. He was asleep. And I said, bro, we're fucking under attack. Airliners are crashing into the World Trade Center. We're under attack. And that was before the Pentagon had come in. That was before Shanksville had been made known. And he went into shock. He actually laid down and went back to sleep. He couldn't process it. It completely blew him up. That's one of the problems with the country today, and that problem has never ceased, is the weakness that has been instilled and installed in males intentionally, in men. That's some bad fucking news right there. And we still haven't done anything to address that problem, because that's a symptom of what the real problem is. And the real problem is what? The real problem are people that are taking advantage of men. That's the real problem. So we get down the road a little bit, and we see the second airliner come in, and it slams into the tower that has not been damaged. And obviously, if you go and you look at all of the videos now and all the raw sound videos, it's still today it's surreal. It's not, you can't hardly wrap your head around it. And that was when I started noticing, shortly after that, a huge portion of people that just weren't able to deal with anything. I think the events of September 11th exposed a lot of mental deficiencies in people. I think it exposed a lot of mental illness. And I think when you see how people react to things like this, it's a big window into the general population. I remember watching those buildings come down, and it was strange. In a former life, I was a role player, a gamer. I used to very much love the role-playing deal. And we had a scenario where one of my brother's characters was strong enough to crack off a building. So he did it. He cracked off the World Trade Center and let it go down in Manhattan. And just for some reason, I just couldn't stop thinking about that. And it's like one of those things that's so unrealistic. In a game, it's one thing, but out here to see it, it's wholly unbelievable. Wholly unbelievable. I know in my heart of hearts, we were not told the truth about September 11th, 2001. I know that. I know that a bunch of dusty motherfuckers rolling in from Saudi Arabia are not going to coordinate this type of effort, this type of plan by themselves. I know that. I know that. And you would figure the people that put the commission report out would know that the general populace would know that too. And there was no accounting at all. None. Zero. We had 3,000 people, not all Americans, but most, that were sacrificed on the altar of war. That was an excuse, in my opinion, just my opinion, to open the door to go and destroy Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And eventually Libya. It became Libya too as well. But I don't want to muddle this up with all of that nonsense. I want to pay my respects to the thousands that died, to the millions watching on worldwide television that could not absorb what was happening. When people say that this is the new normal, I think that they want it to be the new normal. They don't want it, when I mean they, I mean the handlers of this planet. They don't want anything on this earth that is not touched by this kind of nonsense, so that they can justify what they do. I think people, by and large, today anyways, are very inclined to be peaceful and peaceable. And I believe that. That doesn't mean that I'm not ready for the ones that aren't peaceful or peaceable. But my condolences to everybody. Where was I? I was in Winter Park, Orlando, Florida, United States. And I recorded all of the shit from all day long. I've got that still on my tapes. Got all of that. Yeah. That's still a dark fucking day. You know, and as a side note, being here in Kentucky, there's this Democrat trash bag. Her name is Amy McGrath. And Amy McGrath likened the election of Donald Trump in her campaign ads to how she felt on September 11th. And I had to think to myself, really? Watching 3,000 people be forcibly executed in the most horrific manner made you feel the same as Donald Trump being elected? That's the legacy of operations like this. That's the legacy. That's the ultimate legacy, is to insert Marxists and communists and Bolsheviks, to insert these people into our governance at every level. And they're here. And you folks that were not around when this happened, and I was thinking to myself, 19 years ago, 19 years. It's a long time, 20 years. That doesn't feel like 20 years. It feels like yesterday. That's how monumental it was. The world was not the same world after that. And I'm gonna go the other way a little bit, and I'm gonna say that the election of a person like Donald Trump is also part of the legacy of something like September 11th, 2001. Couldn't have had the election of Donald Trump without these cascading failures. You couldn't have had it. When people look around and they say to themselves, like what Trump said in a lot of his rallies, he's like, what do you have to lose? You know, what do you have to lose? Nothing. You've already lost everything. Most people that call themselves red pill understand that you live in the finest class of slave house right now. Right now. You say, oh, but Hammer, you've got this car, you've got that apartment, you can come and go as you please, but are you free? Are you free? Or do you just think that you are? Now, is it better than living in Yemen? Probably. Is it better than living in sub-Saharan Africa? Probably. Is it better than living in the Congo? Probably. There's a lot of places on earth that treat their peoples much, much worse. Much, much worse. Excuse me. And we have big differences in our legal, ethical, and philosophical structures. Big differences. But anyways, it's time for me to jet, man. Have yourselves a wonderful September 11th. And be thankful that you're not on a plane flight.